Hey guys, it's me again. As I promised, I'm here to do a video response to LessOfSarah, who I believe it was last week or a few days ago at least, did a video on, it was titled, "Does everyone who has had weight loss surgery have a food addiction?" And she talked about basically how some people or a lot of people have a tendency to kind of group all of us together, all of us being people who've had a weight loss surgery, as being people with food addictions, and how that kind of bothers her just because, it's not really true. And I think a lot of people, and she kind of mentions this too, sorry, a lot of people just throw the term around really loosely, either I have a food addiction or I'm a compulsive overeater, without actually fully understanding what it is. And it's easy to say like, oh, I have a food addiction and I'm addicted to sugar, or whatever, but it's a lot more than just a Gracie. It's a lot more than that. Like people who say they have sugar addictions, that is very much a physical thing, more so than it is like an actual eating disorder or compulsive overeating. People who have sugar addictions have very unbalanced diets, and they crave sugar because of that. Personally, I was actually diagnosed by a psychiatrist as being a compulsive overeater, and I actually saw a therapist at an eating disorder center as an outpatient because I was a compulsive overeater. I 100% absolutely did and do have a food addiction. Another thing that Sarah mentioned is that, for her compulsion to eat or overeat was completely cured with her surgery. So that kind of confirms to her that she doesn't have an issue with addiction, food addiction, because something physical kind of treated her, her eating issues. Whereas if you do suffer with a food addiction, it's more of a mental thing. And that is absolutely 100% true, because I can tell you that I still struggle in my head. Physically, I don't feel hungry. Physically, I can feel so full, like I'm ready to burst, and still think about food. So, I know it's going to be an ongoing battle for me, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the whole food addiction thing in my life, and kind of go over. She used Wikipedia to kind of talk about what exactly compulsive overeating is. And I'm going to also refer to it just because, I think it does a really good job of telling people what it is. So, compulsive overeating and food addiction are the same thing, and it's characterized by an obsessive or compulsive relationship with food. There's a lot of signs and symptoms that I've had since I was really, really young. The main ones being, here I'll go through the list on Wikipedia first. The signs and symptoms are binge eating or eating uncontrollably even when not physically hungry, eating much more rapidly than normal, eating alone due to shame and embarrassment, feelings of guilt due to overeating, preoccupation with body weight, depression or mood swings, awareness that eating patterns are abnormal, rapid weight gain or sudden onset of obesity, significantly decreased mobility due to weight, history of weight fluctuations, withdrawal from activities because of embarrassment about weight, history of many different unsuccessful diets, eating little in public but maintaining a high body weight and very low self-esteem and feeling need to eat greater and greater amounts. People who are compulsive overeater binge. They're not bulimic because they typically do not follow it up with purging. Hence the reason compulsive overeating is a eating disorder all on its own. And during a binge, according to Wikipedia, overeaters may consume from 5,000 to 15,000 calories. I actually went back, and I lost the paper, but I did it like 2 nights ago, so I have it fresh in my mind. And kind of, I had been logging my food because a nutritionist that I saw last year had wanted to know what my eating was like on, any given day. So she had me log for a week and not change a thing. She wanted me to be 100% truthful and write down everything that I ate that day and not try to eat well or eat different in any way. I went back and I took 2 days, and both of those days, one was just over 8,400 calories and one was just over 8,500 calories. Basically, no breakfast, lunch and dinner both eating out. One day was, I think, McDonald's and then Pizza Hut. The other day was poutine from New York Fries. Oh, that day I had breakfast, actually. And then poutine from New York Fries and a Five Guys burgers and fries meal. And then in the evenings, I went absolutely crazy, carb crazy. And I would have on one particular day, I had 2 entire bags of chips. I would eat entire bags of candy that normally would last somebody a week, if not more, and I would eat them within a sitting in half an hour. And I took the time to actually figure out how many calories and everything I had consumed, and it was absolutely insane. And on those days as well, I consumed over 1,100 grams of carbs. 1,100 grams of carbs, most of it being sugar. Saying that, I don't think it is any surprise to anybody that I was diabetic and that my blood sugars were high and uncontrolled. For a normal person, you generally consume 250 grams of carbs, and I was getting 5 times that. So it was kind of a real eye-opener for me because I wrote everything down and I knew that how I was eating wasn't good, but I'd never actually kind of dug in to do the nutritional analysis of it. And when I did, I was just like, oh my God. I would not have considered myself a binger necessarily because I usually only had 2 meals a day and then snacked throughout the night. But when I actually sat down and figured it out, I was just like, wow, So, binge eating and eating uncontrollably was definitely a very, very normal thing for me for years. My eating issues started when I was young. I did experience a trauma that I'm not going to go into great detail about, and that happened when I was 7. And food was the one thing in my life that I could control. And so when I was young, if my parents told me that I couldn't eat something, I would throw a hissy fit. I would freak out about it. I would do whatever I had to do to get it. And then I would go to my room and hide away and eat it and try and, hide the evidence. And so, that started very, very young, and it continued right through to adulthood. Even today at the age of 26, if I eat something that I know I shouldn't eat, I will still go through the trouble of trying to hide the evidence so that nobody can say anything to me about it. And it's ridiculous. My mom I always kept my room locked when I was a kid because I didn't want my mom coming in to clean, because a lot of times I would hide garbage under my bed and until I could, clean it out without my parents seeing me. And there was a few times that she would clean my room, and just freak out because of all the garbage and takeout bags and everything that she would find. And it didn't get any better when I got out of the house and started living on my own. In fact, I would say it got even worse, because then I didn't have anybody to, who had a say. And so I just went absolutely crazy and did whatever I wanted to do. And I had friends that said stuff to me, and so my life just became all about me eating and hiding it from everybody. Was I ashamed? Absolutely. Did I feel guilt and embarrassment after eating? Absolutely. I did deal with depression growing up, not in a really severe way. I was never medicated. I never had any desire to be medicated. I was never suicidal or anything like that. But I isolated myself from the world. I absolutely isolated myself from people, and it's 100% because I was ashamed of myself and my eating and just who I was in general. And because of that, you get depressed, you feel lonely, and all those things. It just kind of comes with the territory. So that is something that I dealt with. Obviously, I had a lot of health problems: diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. I did have sleep apnea. I was dealing with heart problems, was medicated for all of those things, and that all started when I was 19. Realistically, I knew before then that I was diabetic and had high blood pressure and all those things, but I was phobic of doctors and didn't do anything about it until I was 19 and got the official diagnosis. So, for me, weight loss surgery is not a cure for me in any way. It is absolutely a tool because, like I said, I'm physically very restricted and I do get full very easily. I cannot eat the way that I used to. I cannot binge. But it's still a real challenge for me to make the right choices because I still have that obsessive compulsion with food and wanting to eat those things that give me that mental high, or that addictive high, I guess you could say. And one of the things for me that got me to the point where I knew I needed to make a change and where I was actually able to make the change was that in the beginning, like I said, food was something I could control. When I finally realized that my eating, my lifestyle was completely out of control and that I was no longer in control, then I decided that I needed to take that control back. That wasn't acceptable to me anymore. So, that's why I am absolutely determined to overcome this, because I need to have control of my life again. I let it get far out of control, and now I'm taking back that control. So it's not going to be easy for me. I am now working with a nutritionist, like I mentioned in my other video, and I've gone kind of from one end of the pendulum to the other, in that before I was obsessed about food to the point where, I mean, everything. It drove my parents and family members crazy because everything I thought about was food. We would go out for lunch, and as soon as we were done lunch, I would want to know what we are having for supper. Oh, what are we going to have for supper tomorrow? Oh, are we going to go out here? Can we eat here? Can we have this? Like, everything revolved around food. When people invited me out to eat at their house, join them for supper or go out to a social event, I would turn them down because I would ask them what they were eating. If it was something I didn't like, I wouldn't go. And it was my nutritionist that pointed out to me back when that, that is me pushing people away. That is me isolating myself from everybody because I was putting food above being social and interacting with human life. A normal person doesn't even ask what somebody's making for supper. I mean, my sister gets invited out to people's houses all the time. I've never heard her ask my parents or anybody else, like, oh, well, what are you guys making for supper? She gets an invite and she goes, yeah, I'll come. And then she goes, and if they make something for supper that she doesn't like, well, guess what? She doesn't have it. But she's still there being social and interacting with people. And that is not something that I did. And when that got pointed out to me too, I was just like, oh man, it's no wonder I have felt so alone for so many years because I truly have been isolating myself. So I went from that one extreme to another extreme now where I'm becoming obsessive over eating healthy. And if I do eat something that is an off-plan food or something I know I shouldn't eat, I start to think about it too much and overanalyze it and either worry that I'm going to go back to my old ways or try to find excuses. I think about it too much. And the point is that I want to be normal. I don't want to obsess over food in any sense. So that is why I feel it is necessary for me. I have dealt with my issues in the past. I have been in therapy. I have dealt with the mental aspect of this. And now this is just why it's important for me to work with my doctor, my nutritionist, my fitness personal trainer, as opposed to following my plan so strictly and being so limited in calories, because that just gives me another excuse and another platform in which to obsess over what I'm eating. They're trying to get me to a place of normalcy. They're trying to get me to a place that, I'm kind of in between. I can eat anything without having to worry, and it's just a matter of just eating healthy and balanced, as opposed to, really trying to stick within a very limited number of calories and carbs, and, so that is why I'm kind of going off plan at this point and doing my own thing, because I think ultimately, not only physically but mentally, it's going to be healthier for me. So, I don't want to go be one of these people that go from being compulsive overeating to all of a sudden being bulimic, because I've gone from one extreme to the other and get into the habit of going, oh my God, I ate too many calories today. I would like to say I would never be anorexic or bulimic, but I mean, I already know that I've dealt with eating disorder. You know, it's not hard for somebody who's a compulsive overeater to become bulimic, because the only thing that differentiates the two is that one of them throws up because the guilt is so overwhelming. That is the only difference. And I'm not going to lie and say I've never tried to make myself throw up before. So compulsive overeating is a lot more serious than some people make it out to be. It is a lot more difficult to deal with, and it is like surgery is absolutely not a treatment for it. I knew that going in. Like I said, I absolutely feel like I was, in the place mentally. I was ready to go through with the surgery because I have dealt with my demons. But it becomes a lifestyle. It becomes behavioral. So it doesn't just go away overnight. I still have to struggle with making the right decisions and really finding the willpower. It really does come down to willpower to be able to say no to certain things. So yeah, it's, I agree 100% with what Sarah said. Not everybody who is obese or overweight has a food addiction. I'm more willing to say that probably the majority of people don't, because there's just so much more to it than being hungry all the time. It is far more mental than anything else. So that's really about all I have to say about it at this moment. My video is getting pretty long here, so I don't want to keep you all, I broke my nail. Anyway, I will definitely keep you guys in the loop in regards to what is going on. I meet with my nutritionist on Monday, and that's when we're going to kind of come up with a plan to, how we're going to get me kind of where I need to be to that 1200 calorie vicinity, so that I can start doing my workouts and stuff. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited. So there you have it. All about food addiction, in case you didn't know. If you have anything to add, feel free to post your comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.